Good morning on this Friday, April the 9th, 2021. Let it be known, we are talking all that jazz this morning. We have the renowned leader of the Count Basie Orchestra, Scotty Barnhart, that's going to talk jazz. We're going to listen to a little jazz, and we're going to have some fun this morning. But first, of course, we have the news this morning. And before we start with the news, let us bring on our tireless President and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey Brown, and on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America, this is another Friday. We got headlines, and I can't wait to hear and talk to Brother Barnhart. I'm a jazz enthusiast. Count Basie was one of our greatest, and of course, he's keeping that legacy alive, so we're looking forward to our discussion. But let's get right into the headlines, Stacey. There's so much going on in Black America and all of America today.
Well, first, we're going to start with this. It's one thing to break news, but it's another thing to be accurate. We in the Black press, we make sure that we are accurate. It's okay to be first, but it's much more important to be accurate. And we say that this morning with heavy hearts because rumors, but from those with blue checks next to their names, gave us the false story that our DMX had passed away. Well, we have a video statement from DMX's manager this morning, and we're going to show it to you now.
Everybody, please stop with posting with these rumors. DMX is still alive. Yes, he is on life support, but please, it's not helping anybody by seeing these false rumors. Let the family relax for a night. You will be hearing a statement from the family sometime tomorrow. I've been with DMX for the past 3 years. So the only thing I ask is just stop with the rumors. He is still alive and he is on life support. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve Ripken, DMX's manager. Stop with the rumors. We don't want to hasten or try to hasten his demise. DMX, Dr. Chavis, DMX well. He's had such an incredible life, a tough life growing up, and he battled some problems, some personal problems, but yet it does not cause, there's no cause for anyone to try and jump out in front to say he's passed away when in fact he has not. He has family. In fact, he has 15 children. We don't want to do that. The Black press doesn't do it. And this is where the Black press for 194 years have been the trusted voice of all of America, not just Black America, but all of America. So we want to extend our heartfelt, our hearts are with the DMX's family, Dr. Chavis.
Yes, absolutely. I've known DMX personally and professionally for decades. I also know Steve Ripken. The thing is, we should keep DMX in our prayers. We should keep his family in our prayers, and we should go forward. And you're right. I'm proud that the Black press does not jump the gun. We're not into sensationalism. We're uplifting our people. We not only report the news, but we're an advocate for freedom, justice, and equality. No matter what anyone would like to say about DMX, he is one of our heroes. He's one of our geniuses, cultural geniuses. He's one of the greatest rappers of all time. And we value his life, we value his legacy, and we should give him and his family all the respect that's due. They will make the proper decisions. And right now, DMX is in God's hands. So everybody should not try to get ahead of the Creator. I'm praying for DMX every day since he's been in the hospital, and we'll continue to pray for him. And I hope that everyone listening will also continue to pray.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to say good morning to our executive administrator. We always appreciate Claudette Perry watching. Wonderful, wonderful woman and leader. Good morning to Sakina Bundy and our news director is watching this morning. And speaking of publishing news timely, Norman Rich, good morning. Bobby Henry, good morning. Annette Phillips, always a good morning. Michelle Madison. As we continue with the news, and very shortly, of course, we are going to talk to the jazz great Scotty Barnhart. Renowned pulmonary critical care doctor testified Thursday morning that George Floyd died from a low level of oxygen when former police officers Derek Chauvin pinned him to the street and restricted his ability to breathe. Dr. Martin Tobin of Chicago testified that this caused damage to his brain that we see, and it also caused a PEA arrhythmia that caused his heart to stop. The cause of the low level oxygen was shallow breathing. He added small breaths, small tidal volumes, shallow breaths that weren't able to carry the air through his lungs down to the essential areas of the lungs that get oxygen into the blood and get rid of the carbon dioxide. He identified 4 main reasons why George Floyd died. 1, the handcuffs and the street acting as a vice. Chauvin's left knee on his neck, Floyd's prone position, and Chauvin's right knee on George Floyd's back, arm, and side. Combined, these limited George Floyd's ability to expand his lungs and narrowed his breathing, and his larynx, a part of the throat that the air passes through. His pre-existing conditions, the doctor said, were not relevant to his death. So the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder and Insight News out in Minnesota, our sister publications, will continue to follow this story as the trial goes on. Dr. Chavis, I know that we've been in touch with on a regular basis with the editor of the Spokesman Recorder, Mel Reeves, and he continues to update us. He's in the courtroom.
Absolutely. And we thank Mel Reeves for his journalism, for his leadership. And we thank Al McFadden, who is also the publisher of the Insight News, for also covering it. We have 3 great publishers, 2 great Black newspaper owners right there in Minneapolis. And we are so pleased that they're covering the trial of Chauvin on behalf of the Black press of America.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we move over to music, 5 years after the death of Prince, the artist's estate is releasing songs from his previously unreleased album, Welcome to America. The new music will debut Sunday night on 60 Minutes. Prince wrote and recorded the album before embarking on his 2010 Welcome to America tour, but he didn't perform songs from it. He never said why. Prince's longtime keyboardist Morris Hayes says that, I remember asking him about it, and he says, well, we'll just have to revisit that down the line, because he was like, on to the next project. 60 Minutes cameras went into Prince's Paisley Park Studios outside of Minnesota for the report. That's where Prince kept a vault of unreleased music, as many as 8,000 songs by one estimate. Prince died of an accidental overdose of painkillers on April 21st, 2016. Prince was 57 years old. And a programming note about Prince: don't miss this show, Let It Be Known, on Thursday, April 15th. Our special guest will be Prince's longtime bassist, Mark Brown, or as Prince fans knows him, Brown Mark. So we're looking forward to Thursday, April 15th. Special guest. He talk about Prince, the Revolution, MPG, and all Prince, Thursday, April 15th. Y'all know I'm looking forward to that.
Very good. Very good.
Absolutely.
So look, I can't wait for who we have today.
Yep.
All of us are fans of Count Basie.
Absolutely. And with us this morning is the leader of the Count Basie Orchestra, Mr. Scotty Barnhart. Good morning, Mr. Scotty Barnhart.
Good morning to you. How you guys doing? Pleasure to have. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, Brother Barnhart, and thank you for keeping this great legacy alive. Oh,
it's all my pleasure. Trust me, it's all my pleasure. Mr. Basie was a great human being and the greatest band leader in history. Absolutely.
Yeah, and knowing that, Scotty, I know you've been doing this a long time, but you're carrying the name of the great Count Basie. Mm-hmm. How does that? What kind of pressure is that going into a show?
Well, man, to be honest, I really don't feel pressure. I mean, I was in the trumpet section as a soloist for 20 years before I became a director. So by the time I got to become director, things had lined themselves up in such a way that it was an easy transition for me. And but the musicians in the orchestra, and I'd say along with the spirit of Mr. Basie that we can all feel every night, it just makes it really relatively easy to do. And the musicians have to be given credit, because those guys, of course, our vocalist Carmen Bradford, they are so great at what they do. It makes my job really easy. and I just have to kind of keep the steering wheel, going in the right direction. But to be honest, I really don't feel any pressure. It's just a joy to be up there continuing his legacy. So it makes it just makes it easy for me, really.
And Scotty, you guys, wow, you guys are amazing. You've won what, 18 Grammy Awards?
19.
19. Look, correct me. There you go. Don't take my Grammy away.
Oh, no, sorry, no, let's go.
You guys have performed for kings, queens, royalty. You've appeared in movies, television shows. You're at every major jazz festival and major concert hall in the world. That's what a schedule and what a legacy.
Yeah, Mr. Basie, starting in 1935, he just began to travel the world and put together something that really has not been duplicated since he did it. And it's just basically, like Albert Murray points out in his book, Good Morning Blues, about Mr. Basie, it's just a refinement of the particulars. It's like the little things. Like when I'm working with college bands or even high school bands or even professional bands, I keep trying to explain one of the things that makes the orchestra great is our attention to detail, the small things, and it just makes for a great feel and understanding every time we play. It's consistent, so if band directors are listening, pay attention to those little things that you might not think will mean a lot, like the dynamics or the tempo or the blend and the balance. Those may seem insignificant sometimes, but those are the things that help to make this orchestra as great as it is. And we still pay attention to that. And we are our own worst critics. So every night we'll talk about something. If something went wrong or didn't go quite the way it should have gone, we'll discuss it and talk about it and then we won't let it happen again. So this is one of the reasons I think we're still around.
Well, as the pandemic begins to ease a little bit, I know you guys got a schedule of shows coming up. So let's give our audience, our viewing audience right now, a little snippet of what you guys do. Let's take a look.
On behalf of the Count Basie Orchestra, we hope you guys will come to see us at the Blue Note Tokyo.
Wow.
Okay.
Great. Fantastic.
Thank you. That's one of our favorite places to play in Tokyo.
Is that right?
Known all over the world. And man, we salute you. I can't think of a better way to start off a Friday morning than listening to Count Basie and listening to you, Scotty Barnhart. Scotty, tell us something about yourself. Where are you from? Where's your family from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, man. And that's what I was telling my man earlier, born and raised in Ebenezer Baptist Church.
All right.
And so, because I know that's how I know of you, from your association with Dr. King. And
yes,
I grew up under Daddy King, and I was baptized by him when I was 6, and I was christened by Dr. King Jr. and I was 3 months old. And but my family's still at the church there. And then I
Very
left
good.
there to go to school at Florida A&M to get my undergrad degree here in Tallahassee.
Great HBCU. Yes.
Yeah. And I started playing my trumpet in church, when Daddy King's there. I started playing when I was young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of our publishers, Bobby Henry, he's a graduate of Florida A&M. He's on the line now.
Okay.
He talks about Florida A&M all the time.
Yeah,
I'm a Howard graduate, but
Oh, okay.
there was this battle of the bands, but Family Youth Band, would always be out there. But let me ask you, for the benefit of our listening audience, Scotty, there's most people don't know that Count Basie was also a strong supporter of the civil rights movement.
Oh yeah,
and the connection between our art form and our struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. Can you just comment on that? Because a lot of people think that musicians somehow kind of off to the side. They play good music, but they're not involved in the struggle. Nothing but the opposite is, the truth is that what you learn at Ebenezer, what you learn in the field, what I learned at Ebenezer and working with Dr. King as a teenager, music always gave us that buoyancy. Music always gave us that sense of perseverance where we could transcend the difficulties and face whatever storm wind that we were facing with. Can you comment about the important intersection between our music and our culture and our struggle for freedom, justice, and equality?
Well, a couple of things about that. What's interesting is that a few years ago, I co-founded the Florida Jazz and Blues Festival. And one of the nights during a meeting, one of my co-founder, John Brown, brought to my attention, there was a photo of Count Basie from 1963 at Florida State University. The orchestra had done a concert like the night before. And that same night, Mr. Basie went to whatever the on-campus restaurant was or cafe to get something to eat, and they refused to serve him. And so the very next day, there was a photo of Basie holding a picket sign with the students that said, "We just want equality." Now, this is 1963, after he had become famous, after he had won Grammys, after he had played for the Queen of England, after he'd done world tours, after he'd been in a #1 movie with Jerry Lewis, Cinderella. So Mr. Basie was not above doing what was necessary to help make things better. And his wife, Catherine Basie, she had fundraisers at their home, when they were living in New York. And he was just a very, very, very supportive person. As a matter of fact, I wish I could show it to you. On my wall, I happened to find a photo of Count Basie with Dr. King. Looks like it's the early 60s. And
That's great.
It was not a concert, but something Dr. King was doing. And Basie was there. And so I just saved it and I framed it. I have it on my wall here. So Basie was quite aware of what his stature was within the African American community and speaking of the in the world. And he knew by lending his name or his orchestra or his talents that he could kind of help things. So he was not blind to what was going on by any means, And some of the conversations I've had with some of the gentlemen who worked with him back in the 50s and 60s, I mean, they were very aware of what was going on. But Mr. Basie was such a professional, such a nice guy that he handled things the way that he knew it would allow him to continue on. And so he was very aware of what was going on. Absolutely.
Wow. And tell us, so as the band leader, what goes into that? What's that like?
Well, attention to detail. I just, again, when I first saw Count Basie at the Fox Theater in Atlanta when I was, at a high school in Atlanta when I was 12, Jewett Hills High School. And then I saw them again when I was 17 at the Fox Theater. And when I saw them the first time, I went and started buying every Count Basie album I could find. And I remember reading the album liner notes and just memorizing the guys' names in the band and all of that. So already at that age, I was paying attention to detail. And I would memorize the saxophone solo. I would memorize what the drummer was doing, what the notes that the bass player what he was doing. Everybody. So by the time I got to the orchestra in 1993, I had so much of that in my mind that it was almost sometimes I couldn't turn it off. So when I joined the orchestra and spent 20 years there, I was even in more immediate contact with what was going on every single night. So by the time I became leader, anything that goes on in front of me, I'll hear it. If the bass player's out of tune, I'll hear it. If somebody misses a note, I'll hear it. Even if it's a part that's in like a third trumpet part, if they play a wrong note, I can hear that. Mm-hmm. So I guess the attention to detail is what my first job is to make sure that all of those things that Mr. Basie refined and that the orchestra refined beginning in 35, we still make sure we keep doing those. Yeah. And luckily, we have the level of musicians in the orchestra that I don't have to worry about that. And so for me, I know Winton said something. Winton Marsalis, my good friend, told me something years ago. He said, man, either you have the right people or you don't. Yeah. And we're in a situation where we have the right people, and the musicians have a deep love for Mr. Basie, but they also have an understanding of what makes the orchestra. Everybody in every chair, all 18 musicians, they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. My job is to make sure that we get that. And so luckily we've been getting that. And, we try to make it fun. Mr. Basie was a very affable guy. The atmosphere, you have to have fun too, because we're playing for people, and we're deadly serious, but we're playing for people. So we have to make sure that no matter what, if we're in a club like you saw in Tokyo there, or big concert hall, everybody should feel like they can get up and dance and just have a good time. That's what the music is for. Even though it was really interesting when we do play concert halls, I do mention that. I say, I know there's a small aisle there, but if you want to get up and dance, have at it. You're not supposed to make you sit down and be, no, that's not what it's about. You can listen as well as to get up and move. So we just try to make sure every concert that we play, no matter where we are in the world, everybody gets a good feeling of Mr. Basie's music. And so
Scotty, you mentioned, hearing if somebody's out of tune. I mean, you have a huge orchestra, right? Mm-hmm. You're in concert, and somebody's out of tune. As a director, while in concert, what happens?
Well, luckily, I'm facing them, so the audience can't see my face, Except, actually, we played there's a concert hall in Amsterdam with the audience is surrounding us, so they can see me. But because what happens is, I'll just give a little signal with my eye. I'll kind of look like that. Or if the tempo gets off, I'll put my hand on my chest and I'll put it where, I'll tap where it needs to be. But if this is, everybody's human. I don't make a big deal out of mistakes like that. If somebody's out of tune or plays the wrong note or comes in early or late, we really laugh, to be honest with you. We just try to make sure that doesn't happen again, But everybody's human. Sometimes, after
you give them that parental eye.
I'll do that. But again, because of the level of musicians that we have, they also know they're doing that, so they'll fix it. So usually I don't have to ask anybody something or tell somebody to hey man, watch that or don't do that. They'll hear it and they know, know. So
So what's coming up for the Count Basie Orchestra? Tell our viewers what's coming up.
Yeah, well, our first concert is next month, May 13th. At Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. They were scheduled last year, but they kept, because of COVID, kept pushing it back. So finally, it's settled. We will be there. It'll be we're going to do a clinic earlier that morning for K through 12 students in the area, which is basically a concert. But we'll be asking, we can take questions. We'll demonstrate some things, stuff like that. And then at that night, we'll have a concert, and they say it's going to be about 1,000 people. It'll be outside. And I think they said people will be in little pods or something like that, 6 or 7 people at a time. And if they leave, they just have to have their mask on. And then after that, we're supposed to be back in Europe in July. That's about 50-50, because that was also supposed to be for last year. We always go to Japan and Europe at least every year. And so they're just trying to get things kind of back where we need to be as far as our schedule goes. And in the fall, I think starting in September or October, we have something every other week, I think. A Europe tour again, West Coast, East Coast. So we're just raring to get back to work, man. People miss it. I get emails and messages on Facebook all the time. When are you guys touring again? So, and we'll just keep putting that information out there. But next month is the first one, May 13th.
Fantastic, Dr. Chavis.
Mm-hmm.
You're on mute, Dr. Chavis.
I'm sitting here just marveling at Scotty. Thank you for your perseverance, your leadership, and
thank you.
I think we have a lot of young people watching our program this morning, Generation Z and millennials. What can you say to young people? You were a young person when you first got that appetite, that aspiration, if you will, to be a musician. Say something to our young generation of listeners and potential artists in all fields, but talk to us about having that vision, that dream, and sticking with it as your career.
Yeah, I would basically just say this: just listen to what your spirit and your mind and your body is telling you. When you hear something that you like, stick with it. When I heard Basie when I was 9 or 10, to me it was the exact same thing that I heard in Ebenezer once a month, because Daddy King had a choir called the M.L. King Choir, which you probably know. Yes. Which is a gospel choir, and they used a Hammond B3 organ. Well, when I first heard Basie, that was the same thing I was listening to. It was just an extension of it. So when I heard that, it just went through me, man. It's like a raging inferno. So I've always been very lucky to been able to just pay attention to what it is that makes me feel good. So for the young musicians, whatever music you like, whether it's classical music, jazz, rap, whatever it is, don't let anybody deter you from that. Do what you know you want to do and just keep focused. And the main thing is just try to get good at it. Try to become great at it. Not just, mediocre or you can play in somebody's band, but try to actually become great at it. And don't let anybody, throw you off of your path. Because there will be people that say, well, you need to do this, or you should. No, if you know what you need to do, you do that. Keep practicing that piano, keep practicing those drums, keep singing voice lessons, whatever instrument you may play, keep doing that and get the best instruction you possibly can get. Find the best people who are doing already what you want to do and get in touch with them. The world is small now. You can find people through email, going to their websites and getting in touch with them, and you can have a lesson with them on Zoom. Even me, if somebody wants to get in touch with me, I'll be more than happy to help somebody. So I've great to have great teachers and all that. So that's what I would say.
Well, look, Scotty, on June 23rd and 26th, we'll have our national convention. We'll talk to you offline, but I just want to publicly say, sure. I want to lift up the Count Basie Orchestra at our national convention. I just got a message from some of the members of my executive board. Okay. We want to give the Count Basie Orchestra a distinguished award from the Black Press of America. Oh, wow, man. Because you are the rhythm of our struggle. You are the rhythm of our fight for freedom. And you are the highest expression of genius and excellence. Mm-hmm. And we just want to salute you and let you know that the Black Press of America appreciates you and every member of that orchestra to keep this marvelous legacy of Count Basie alive.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure to do so. Thank you.
And Scotty, it sounds like you can spare a Grammy. So could you lend me a Grammy? I'm just saying, because you threw that 19 at me like. We got a surprise for you, Scotty. We have that picture of Count Basie.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, man, that's on the campus of Florida State University. As a matter of fact, right across the street from the music building.
There you go. That's great. There you go. Thanks to our news director.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Scotty, we are looking forward to talking more with you, seeing more with you. Dr. Chavis has extended an invitation to you for our annual convention, which is in June. In fact, people can start registering now for our annual convention. It's going to be a great one. It's virtual NMPA 2021.com. It's going to be a great one. So our chair, Karen Carter Richards, I'm sure we'll have her arms open wide for the Count Basie Orchestra.
Thank you.
Scotty, we appreciate you so much. And
thank you, man.
Don't forget to watch every Sunday, this Sunday and every Sunday at 11 a.m., the Chavis Chronicles, starring our own Dr. Ben Chavis on PBS TV and PBS World. It's every Sunday. Check your local listings because it also repeats during the week. About 100 different cities. I believe Dr. Chavis is the Chavis Chronicles.
Yes, we're in all the major cities. We reach 80 million people a week.
Wow.
On the Chavis Chronicles. I'm also going to have Count Scotty Barnhart. We need him to come on and let the whole world knows about Count Basie, but I want to reaffirm. I think, I know we're a little bit over time. I just want to say this. The world is transfixed on what is going on in Minneapolis, rightly so. We need to pay attention. But also, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of tension in our community. COVID, Scotty, as you know. Mm-hmm. So we need something to uplift the spirit of our people. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of anything better than the music of Count Basie.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, man.
Yeah. Led by Scotty Barnhart.
Absolutely.
And thank you, man. And Scotty, we're not going to let you go so easily. Because you know what? April is National Jazz Appreciation Month.
That's right.
All April long, National Jazz Month celebrates the heritage and history of jazz. The roots of jazz can be found in the blues. The exciting history of the blues of jazz, that is, takes us through the deep South, along back roads and into big cities all across the United States and then the world. The thrum of the bass and sizzle of the snare make the nightclubs dazzle just a little more against the brass and lights. Growing out of the deep South at the turn of the 20th century and working its way up the Mississippi Delta, jazz influenced musicians along the way. As it grew, It inspired more improvisation, and as a result, new methods formed and new styles of music too. Music and jazz were developing and changing quickly. The impact of jazz on the country was profound, and it remains profound. So enjoy some more of the Count Basie Orchestra as we take you to close. And in the words of Cab Calloway, jazz was not built in the minds of the great ones, but on the backs of the ordinary ones. Take a look at the video, and we will see you Monday.
On behalf of the Count Basie Orchestra, we hope you guys will come to see us at the Blue Note Tokyo.